Hello, hello. Dropping in for a quick coffee with the goddess. So funny, I had my hair up in like little bunny ears all day and I just took it down because it was starting to feel like sometimes I just love doing that, putting my hair up tight, like little antenna pointing up at the sky. And yeah, it was just time to release the Kraken. But as soon as I did that, it was so funny. The hair came down and it was very Texas. It was very big. I loved it. But anyway, side note. Today I'm playing with a new and fun deck called The Witch's Wisdom Tarot. And I'm really loving playing with this. It's like there's like layers of meaning in the images. And but the messages are simple and direct. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how to do that. It's saying that my frame rate is too low, and I don't know how to change that, so I'm going to ignore that right now and keep going. And next time I will use a different camera. I don't know if you can hear it. There's cars honking, an ambulance, siren. I'm getting technical issues, and I have like just a few minutes before my next, not a few minutes, but like I have a thing at 5 my time. Um, so feeling like the pull of the urgency, right? And yet, how do we find our unshakable center within that? And trust, if you're just hearing my voice, then that's all that we need, right? So, okay. What is a wonderful message, and especially in light of what just came up, right? Whoa, look at that. 15 journey. Okay. What is this? It's so gorgeous. Look at that. Like the mountains. There's like a pool at the center, like a lake, a mountain lake. Let's learn about journey. And this is going to be one of the major arcana within this tarot. 15, journey. All pilgrimages are journeys into the unknown. The path disappears. There is neither map nor sign. Those who passed this way before left no mark on land or time. I love this because I feel like this is so where we are right now. We're on this journey, and it feels like we're creating something totally new. So what do we do? And it's interesting, like what I love the way this book is organized is it's like you have the wisdom, and then there's essence, which is like here's the essence of the message, right? Pilgrimage, movement, self-discovery, trust the path. And counsel, right? If it's time to ask yourself, where am I going? Your question will be answered with another question. Where do you want to go? And I'm reminded of a gentleman that I met years ago. I was hosting a retreat in Long Beach, California with a good friend. And we had a small turnout. It was an intimate retreat. And it was in this beautiful bed and breakfast, just steps away from the beach, right? And there was another guest who was not involved in our retreat, a gentleman, who was fascinated by what we were doing, right? And one evening, after we wrapped up, he kind of came in and introduced himself. And he was this graphic designer. He was in town for a convention around that, and he just loved. I was teaching about the feminine and how kind of grounding in this divine feminine body allows us to cultivate that unshakable center, always remain grounded no matter what's happening around us, right? It's not bypassing, not by any stretch of the imagination. We're feeling the feels. We are, like the stuff that is happening is the stuff that is happening. We're not escaping from it. And there is that center, that regal center, right? The priestess, the queen, the sage, the witch, the healer at your core who has been down this path before. And maybe you don't remember, right? Maybe it's just buried in a memory in a past life, or even like a past life, like like another body, another time, or a past moment in this lifetime, right? Anyways, this gentleman came down, introduced himself, and fascinating. He was from Afghanistan, and had fled here to the U.S. many years ago. His family had, because of well, what we're seeing right now, like varying levels of persecution of free thinkers, and so his family had come here, um, and he talked about when he was still living there, being in a room in a circle. He described, I don't know, this is just like this pool in the center, right? He described his father would bring him to this gathering, and it was just a circle of people. It turned out later, he didn't know this because he was a boy, but they would all be sitting in the circle, silent, and he and his father would come into the circle and just sit, and there'd be that moment, just kind of nodding. People would nod at them to welcome them. They'd nod back, and they were just there in silent meditation, in silent presence with each other. And many years later, he was to find out, like, he recognized those faces in the room, and then later realized, oh my gosh, these were like the foremost thinkers, right? These were the writers, the artists, the creatives that his father was. This was their circle of friends, and probably, the same free thinkers, and in part of why they left the country at that time. But so fast forward, we're sitting in this beautiful living room, the sound of the ocean, coming through the windows, and he's talking about the journey. Okay, I came full circle. See how I did that? My story has a point. But like, he was talking about the journey and the path, and I'm just being called to share this story right now. And he did this. He was like, we always wonder, where do I go? Where do I go? Like, where am I supposed to be going? What is the path? Right? And actually, that reminds me of another story, but I'll share that in a moment. And he did this. He was like, here's how you find the path. And he just placed his hands under his knees, and he just picked up his legs and he kind of planted them. And he's like, where your feet are, that's the path. It's like, where you are, that's the path. And you just continue down the path. And that gives you all the information that you need. Is it the right path? You'll find out. Your own sense of discernment, of pleasure, of ease will tell you, am I on the right path or not? And if you're not, you'll leave. You'll choose a different path. But there is no figuring it out until you are on the path, right? And as very similar to that book, it was part 2 of the Half the Sky series about women, around the world, and kind of the major issues that we face across different countries. So not accidental why, Afghanistan is dropping in, right? And the second book that was in that series was A Path Appears, which means that this is really key for us to know right now. Not only is it the path is what is under your feet right now. Like, don't overthink it. Just step forward. And that will give you that information, that feedback. Am I on the right path? Yes, no. Does this feel good? Am I excited? Is there a little twinge of maybe even excitement / fear because I've never done this before? This is bigger than bigger of an action than I've ever taken before. This is a bigger dream. This is more in alignment with my purpose, why I am here. And so we get that feedback. But here's the message with A Path Appears. What that was about is that it just takes one of us to begin to carve that path, through the unknown. You know, when there's that field and there is no path, but what happens is one person goes through, then another, and they retrace their steps, right? A path appears. A path appears. The more of us who say, I will choose what is in alignment with what I believe. I will choose to take the steps that make sense for me. And sometimes that can feel like a very lonely and isolating path, right? And I know that there's a lot of us that feel that right now. You know, you might be in a situation where, oh my gosh, everyone is believing something different than what I believe. It's all good. I'm not saying they're wrong, you're right, or you're wrong and they're right. It's irrelevant. It's part of what's happening right now as we're coming together as a collective and we're starting to really learn how is it that we come together as a collective that is one while still being individual expressions of all that is, individual, unique perspectives. How can we hold? It seems almost like a contradiction, but it's not, right? We don't lose our individuality as we come into the collective, right? But there's a lot of pressure to like, well, you know, in order to be a part of the collective, you have to conform. You have to think like we do. Everyone's kind of singing this song right now. Not everyone, but, you know, a lot of the loudest voices in the room, we'll just say, right? And so if you're feeling a little bit alone, if you're feeling a little bit isolated, just know this is a part of the journey. And yes, it seems as if the path is untrodden, but the more of us that choose to take the path that is our path to joy, that is our path to our purpose, that is our soul's path, right? That no one can tell us but us, right? No one can know what this journey is, what this path is, but you, but us, right? It may look very different from you than it does for me. Even, you know what I mean? Like that's what's so amazing. This is the miracle, truly, of this planet, of being a human, you know, and being here in this point in time. So remember this, the path. What is my path? What do I do? You're already there. It's under your feet. Just take that next step forward. What is that thing? You know what it is. And then if you're wondering, like, but is it the right step? I don't know. Take the step and then you'll find out. Take 5 steps, then you'll know, you know, even more. Take 100 steps, then you'll know for sure, right? One of my business mentors once said, you know, when we're trying to like, oh, how can you tell who your ideal client is? You know, what is your niche? And she's like, if you really don't know, serve 100 clients. You know, anyone who walks in the door, yes, 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 yes. You will figure out who you love to work with. You'll figure out who your people are, because it'll just naturally be like, oh, I don't want to work with folks like X, Y, and Z again. I really loved working with person D like that. Wow, right? So we have so much information at our fingertips, and so you are already on the path, my love. Your feet are already on the path. It's that effortless, right? And a path appears, meaning if you are feeling alone on that path, if you're feeling like you are stepping into the wilderness, stepping into that empty field, unmarked, you know, just know that you are not alone, and that as we each take our path, a path appears, meaning you will find your people who are on the same path, and in you know, in that community, in that collective action, right? That's where it's like, a path appears. I'm no longer alone. So I hope this is helpful to you. Beaming you so much love. I knew what my guides had shared. Like I had this intuition. I was like, I want to speak to some of the loneliness that some of us are feeling right now. And it's so fascinating because this is what came through. It's a journey, y'all. So with that, from my heart to yours, I love you. Take what you need and pass it on.